Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a fantastic weekend so far. Hi, Sheng Hung. Good to see you in class. Students, these materials, they come from our websites, aehelp.com for the academic version of the exam, and for the general version, check us out at gieltshelp.com. On both of those websites, we have loads of materials, practice exams, videos to help you. This is a members chat class, so you will notice that everybody in the chat has their name in green. That's because they are channel members. You need to be a member to chat in this class, but we do have an all chat class coming up in 90 minutes with speaking part 3. In this class, we are going to be focusing on, not task 1, we'll be focusing on reading strategy. So this will be a reading strategy for before the exam. Okay, so that's going to be the focus of this class. Hi, Jap Kaur. Hi, Zainab. Good to see more members coming into the class. Students, members, again, just a reminder, we do have a brand new app for our academic IELTS. It's fully integrated with our website. It connects with your web account. Download the app called Academic IELTS Help for your Android and iOS device. Just look for this shield. Hi, Alexander. Good to have another member coming in. Hopefully we'll have several more. If you have questions, comments, concerns, we are building the most advanced and in some ways complex IELTS online learning system in the world to help students. Just send us emails if you're having problems or questions. Send them to Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com. Hi, Ava. Hi, Ferdovs. Some more members coming in. Okay, students, this week's classes end with this key strategies for the reading section, and then a speaking part 3 in 90 minutes. And next week, classes will start on Thursday, not on Wednesday. I'm not available on Wednesday, so this is kind of a unique case. So just a reminder, this is important, live IELTS classes will continue next Thursday, which will be, I guess, the 15th. Okay, please keep that in mind. So we usually have just one class on Wednesday, but that will be canceled next week, so we will start on Thursday. So next week we will have class Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, so that's it for announcements. Now to get on with today's lesson. Today, students, I'm going to show you a practice strategy. This is coming from our materials called power reading. We have developed this strategy ourselves, but it's not originally our idea. Power reading is a well-known reading practice technique that a lot of professionals use in high-level academics to enhance their reading ability. So the idea of power reading is to improve reading comprehension. Everybody knows the meaning of comprehension. What does that actually mean, comprehension? Roshni, welcome aboard. Ava, Alexander, Zainab, what does the word comprehension mean? What's another way? Yeah, Alexander says it means to understand. Yeah, and to comprehend is even a bit more than to understand. It means to understand and be able to interpret or use, so you can actually understand it and use it. Okay? All right, so that's comprehension. And then the other part of the coin, so the other side of the coin, is fluency. Okay? What does fluency mean? What does it mean to be fluent? Can anybody tell me that? What is your understanding of the concept of fluent? Fluid. What does that actually mean? I'm sure most of you know the definition of that word. Just asking to see if you have a bit of a deeper explanation for that. So Alexander says it's reading with no hesitation. Now, that's a nice way to put it, Alexander. So you're using the antonym negative to paraphrase, no hesitation. Roshni says to be able to read continuously. Ferdov says smoothly, without breaking or stopping. Yeah, and reading fluently doesn't just simply mean to read continuously, perhaps aloud, but it also means to continuously comprehend. So it means to fluently understand what you read as well. All right, so let's figure out how to do that. Now, a very common way that students want to improve their reading is simply by reading. And that's not bad, okay? That's good. That's better than the students who don't read. But that's not the most effective way to improve your reading. So let me give you a couple of notes here, and it might seem intuitive, but it is important to discuss this because people still do it very often. So most people improve their reading by simply taking time to read. While this is okay, it is not the most effective method of enhancing reading skills. Okay, so definitely students, it's a good idea to pick up a novel, to pick up high school textbooks, especially for the academic IELTS, and just read. So read some chapters in English, of course. But that's not the most effective way to improve your reading. And for the IELTS, it is important that you're looking for the most effective way to improve your reading. Why? Why is it important when a student has to sit, or a person has to sit the IELTS exam, to find effective reading practice strategies to improve reading skills? Why is that especially important when preparing for the IELTS exam? So how is that different from just general life and improving reading skills for our everyday kinds of situations? What is the one variable that makes this different, more demanding? Can anybody tell me? This is what you have to keep in mind. The reason I'm emphasizing this as well, students, is because this exercise I'm going to show you is not easy, but it's very effective. Okay, Ferdov says there's more pressure. Yes, Ferdovs, you're almost there. What kind of pressure? Especially what kind of pressure? Performance pressure, you need high band scores, but even more specifically, it's time pressure, right? So for the IELTS exam, this is especially pertinent. Pertinent means important because of time constraints. Okay, so unlike in everyday life situations, when students have to do the IELTS exam, they have maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a couple months to make some serious improvements. And I see this all the time. So we have communications coming from clients where they say, my reading is a band 5. My reading is a band 5.5. I need a 6.5, but I only have 1 month before I sit my exam. What can I do? So, yeah, read every day, but just reading novels or newspapers every day might not be enough. You might not have enough time to make that improvement. So you need to be better. Shang Hung, very good. Yeah, you caught my drift. Time pressure, excellent. So keep that in mind while we go through this challenging but very effective strategy for improving your reading. So the trick, like with other types of professional training, when you're training your reading skills, to first of all separate different components of reading. So you want to separate speed and comprehension in 2 steps, and then you want to combine them. Okay? When people read to improve their skills and they focus on fluency and comprehension at the same time, it's not as effective as separating these skills. Okay? So it is more effective to separate the skills of fluency and comprehension into individual components and then combine. Okay? To emphasize this for you, to make this even more clear for you, let me ask you, instead of me giving you this information, let me ask you, how do we see this in different domains of learning? So for example, in sports, can you give me an example of where the same strategy is used by coaches or by trainers? So in sports, it's not completely different. The trainers use similar strategies. Can you give me an example of the same concept, but in a sport? Let's see if you're able to pick up what I'm trying to put down here so that I can really emphasize and drive this point home when you are working on your English reading at home over the next couple of weeks. So think about sports, or even think about music. So definitely in other domains of learning, you have the same strategy that's applied regularly by teachers, instructors, coaches, trainers. Can anybody give me an example of that where we see that regularly? Or maybe some of you have experienced it. I'm sure most of you, in fact, at some point in your schooling have experienced this as well. All right, well, while you're writing or thinking about that, I'll give you an example. So think of tennis. Sure, you can improve by just playing, but the real professionals will practice components such as forehand, backhand, serving, weight training, endurance training, and then put it together in their complete game. Okay. Now, some of you viewers might be thinking, Adrian, why are you talking about all of this? We're just talking about reading. There's logic to my madness. It's because I really want you to think about this as you move forward with your reading practice and improving your reading skills for the IELTS exam. Okay? Shang Hung, very good. You're thinking of exactly what I'm thinking of. So for basketball, they don't just play games to become good basketball players. They practice drills like shooting, dribbling, endurance separately, and then put it together. Why? Because it's much more effective. Okay? So same thing here that I'm giving you for tennis. You can improve by just playing the game, and that's most of what we do when we just do it for fun, right? So I just play tennis for fun. I don't go out there and throw 200 serves into the air each day. Sure, I'm just doing it for fun, but I'm nowhere near the professional level. However, for people who play tennis to be the best in the world and make a lot of money doing it, they need to be a bit more serious about it. They need to focus on the different elements and then put it together. With the IELTS, same concept. You need to focus on the individual elements of general skills like reading and then put them together. Okay? All right. So now we'll finally get to the steps and how you do it. Okay? And we'll practice these. It's going to be, like I say, a little bit challenging, maybe even a little bit weird sometime at times, but just bear with me. Okay? We'll use a sample passage here. So the first step is sit down with a sample passage, so sample IELTS passage. And this exercise, when done right, takes roughly an hour for one passage, okay? So this exercise, depending on your skill level, takes about 45 minutes to an hour, okay, with one passage. All right, that's what you should be planning for when you do this, okay? So the first step is read the whole passage aloud. It's very, very important that you're reading aloud, okay? So aloud reading is absolutely crucial for improving your reading skills because it's multiple sensory integration. Your senses, vision, motor, muscular, moving your mouth, your tongue, auditory, okay, tactile, though tactile means touch, those are combined when you're reading aloud. When you're reading silently, you're really only using your vision, okay? So it's much, much more effective in the long run to combine aloud reading. So first, you want to read the passage aloud faster than you can. 70% of the words are clear and 30% are unclear or you jump them, okay? That's what that means. So here, think about it this way. You're basically running faster than you can. Maybe some of you have done this, or especially remember your childhood years where you're running so fast that your feet actually stay behind you. Your upper body is going forward, and we sometimes actually fall and start rolling. We don't like doing that as adults because it's painful, but as 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old children, we see it all the time. And this is kind of what you want to do, okay? If you want to read faster, if you want to increase your reading speed, you have to read faster than you possibly can. Let me show you what I mean, okay? Just bear with me. Again, this is going to be one of those kind of weird, funny situations, but it'll make sense, especially when you practice it at home. So, of course, I've done this a lot, so I don't expect you to go at the same speed as what I'm doing here, but this will give you an idea. So this is a passage. It's passage number 2 from test number 4. Why do some people have red hair? So my first step is to read this whole passage faster than I possibly can. That means about 70% of it is somewhat clear, 30% of it is just gibberish. Okay, I'm just blundering through it. So I'm going to start here. Just bear with me, and then you can try a paragraph after. So red hair is an exceedingly rare trait, especially in areas of the world such as Asia, South America, Western Europe. However, this is relatively common in countries such as Scotland. Hair, common blonde hair. Additionally, countries with historical immigration in Western Europe, such as the United States and Canada, show interest in red hair. Red hair is around 1,000 years for longer than the ancient Greeks account of red hairs and ancient Egyptian ones. The story of why people have red hair is interesting. It has to do with genetics, evolution, geography. Okay, so that was paragraph 1. Okay. Now, if you have to, you can take a break for a couple seconds just so that your mind doesn't get completely messed up between paragraphs, but definitely push to read at least one paragraph like that. Does that make sense? I know that might have sounded really weird for you, but does that make sense what I just did there? So notice that some of the words, some of the connecting words, some of the words that were tricky for me to pronounce, I just kind of skipped them. Okay? So I really pushed my speed. All right? Did I understand anything from what I was reading? No, not really, okay? Yes, I did, in fact, because I've practiced this technique so much that your comprehension will eventually improve also. But I didn't have a lot of comprehension. I was focusing mostly on just speed. Okay, I'm focusing on just speed. Let me do one more, and then you can try it with a couple. Okay, so here we go. One more example of this. The gene for red hair is what is known as the recessive gene, which means that the gene can only be passed down generations for both parents possess the gene, and if the probability 25% important, if not, the redheads carry the gene redheadedness. Rather than in some countries, up to 40% of the population carries the gene accounting from birth redheadedness, child non-redheaded parents. The parents may not be redheaded themselves, but they carry the gene and their ancestry be analyzed. There surely would be redheads up and down their family tree. Okay, so that was another one. So again, just pushing. If you're reading more than 70% of the words, you're not going fast enough. So you're really aiming for that roughly 70 to 80%, okay? Maximum 80%, no more than 80%, no less than 60%, somewhere in that 20% range. That's how you push your your fluency. So this is focusing on fluency. Okay, I'll give you just a few seconds. Try it with this one here, students. So I'm not going to do it with this one. You do it with this one. I'll do a countdown and then try it, okay? So I'll give you maybe 20, 25 seconds for this, okay? So I'll do a countdown and then you can begin. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and stop. All right. So, in all honesty, who was able to finish this paragraph reading faster than you can in that time? Okay, were you able to finish reading this paragraph in the roughly 20 seconds? Blundering about 20, 30% of the words? How far did you make it? Okay, Shang says, couldn't finish the last few lines. Roshni says, missed the last sentence. Ava said, nope. Amarjeet said, I read only about half. So notice, members, that there's a bit of variation. So some of you are going faster than others, which is okay. That's absolutely fine. This is not a competition against others. This is a competition with yourself. Okay, so the trick here is it's a competition with yourself. So again, at home, what you want to do for this first step is you want to go through the whole passage like that, okay? Push your brain. By the way, students, make sure you have good energy for this power reading exercise because it is tiring. It's just like CrossFit training, okay? Ava, when you're struggling with some of the words, just jump it. Just throw it out. Move through it, okay? For Dov's pretty close, not bad. So again, if you get stuck, right? It's very important, Ava. That's good that you mentioned that. So if you get stuck on a word or a number, just jump right over it. Stop. Don't let it make you stumble. The idea here is exactly to build your fluency. So if you get stuck on a word or number, numbers are very common to get stuck on, just jump over it. The key here is fluency. Okay. All right. Now, here we go with step number 2. So this is where it starts to get fairly interesting. Okay. Valiant Venture, you're joining the class late, which is okay. I'll just reiterate it real quick. The advantage of this kind of reading is to build the skill of fluency separately from comprehension. So just like developing the skill of dribbling and shooting separately for basketball, as Shang Hung clearly said. Okay? So here we're focusing on fluency, improving your fluency. So step 2 is skim read each paragraph individually for difficult words and say each one of them loud twice. Okay, so after you've read the passage faster than you can, the next step is to read the paragraph, skim read, so you don't need to do it out loud, but then when you get to a difficult word, and don't be shy, okay? Here you can use your pencil and pen. More is better than less, okay? More is better than less in this case. So I might even start as early as saying specific. Okay, so I'm skim reading. Melanocortin, sure. Okay, MC1R. All right, that looks kind of tricky. 1991, Jonathan Rhys, lots in this first sentence here. Edinburgh. Okay. Tertiary. Maybe attributes. Okay. So while I'm doing this, I'm saying each one of these aloud twice. Okay. So bear with me. Let's do it together. Okay. So repeat me here. It's very important for the next step. So just repeat each one of these words twice with me. Specific. Specific. Melanocortin, melanocortin. MC1R, MC1R. Receptor, receptor. 1995, 1995. Professor Jonathan Rhys, Professor Jonathan Rhys. Edinburgh, Edinburgh. Tertiary, tertiary. Attributes, attributes. Myriad, myriad. Freckles, freckles. Evolution, evolution. Geography, geography. Sunshine, sunshine. Vitamin D, vitamin D. Inhabitants, inhabitants. Nutrient, nutrient. Rickets, rickets. Deformity, deformity. MC1R, MC1R. Absorb, absorb. Eumelanin, eumelanin. Particular, particular. Predisposition, predisposition. Rickets, rickets. Underexposed, underexposed. All right, so I've gone through, and every word that I feel is a bit difficult for me to pronounce, that's tripping me up in my fluency, okay? So, Ava, these are maybe some of the words that caught you off guard and that tripped you up in your fluency. So these are the ones that you want to enunciate twice, nice and loud. So you train your tongue, your eyes, and your mind to be able to say these words fluently and catch them when you see them in the text. Okay? Now, I go back to the beginning of the paragraph, and this is my next step. And now I'm transitioning into fluency and comprehension. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this paragraph one more time. I'm going to read it aloud, and I'm going to pronounce each word nice and smooth. This time, I'm going to pay attention to commas and I'm going to pay attention to periods so that I'm going to have nice intonation in my reading as well. So read with me, students, nice and loud. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. The specific gene for red hair is called the melanocortin 1 receptor, MC1R, and was discovered in 1995 by Professor Jonathan Rees at the University of Edinburgh. This gene is responsible for red hair, along with the other tertiary attributes associated with red hair, pale skin, and myriad freckles, for example. But why did people ever have red hair in the first place? The answer, some scientists think, has to do with evolution and geography. The places where red hair is relatively common, Northern Europe and Western Europe, have lower sunshine levels than other parts of the world. This lack of sunshine resulted in a lack of vitamin D production in its inhabitants. Exposure to the sun being humans' main source of the nutrient, which can result in rickets, a condition which can lead to the deformity of bones. One of the side effects of the MC1R gene is that redheads more easily absorb vitamin D due to the low amounts of eumelanin in their bodies. On one hand, this results in a particular predisposition to sunburn. However, it also allows redheads to avoid rickets, even when underexposed to the sun. Okay, so that is my step 2 and my step 3, 2.5. Is that clear? Any questions about that step? So any questions about skim reading for difficult words, saying them aloud twice, and then rereading the paragraph? Any questions about why I'm doing that, how I'm doing that? Or are you fairly clear on this, on the logic for this step after the first step of reading really, really fast? Hopefully you're still with me on this. Okay. Ava says, that's clear. Roshni, you're not focusing on comprehension yet. You're just focusing on fluency. And Roshni, the irony or the interesting part of this exercise is that when you become more fluent and there are less words that break your fluency or your concentration, you will retain the passage easier. Okay? Amarjeet, as I mentioned earlier in the class, this whole exercise, the whole power reading exercise from steps 1 through 4 takes about an hour. Okay? All right. So you need to do this with each paragraph after you read the whole passage as fast, or I mean faster, than you possibly can. Okay? So remember here, I'm training you to be quote unquote professional basketball players, not just casual basketball players, okay? We're going for the IELTS first. So Shang Hung says, should I read the passage first and then read it a second time, or read the whole passage? Yeah, so Shang Hung, it's a good question. I suggest for students who have fairly solid reading skills in English to do the whole passage, okay? But if you're finding that a little bit tiring and intense, you can go paragraph by paragraph as well. Okay, so read the whole passage faster than you can, then go through the whole passage identifying these difficult words, read them aloud twice, and then read it smoothly. If that's too intense, then go paragraph by paragraph. Good question, Shang Hung. I have a question for you, students. What if you don't know the pronunciation of the word? What should you do? So let's say that I'm like, well, geez, Adrian, you're a native speaker, so yeah, you can kind of figure out that probably the right pronunciation for this is melanocortin. But what if I don't know that pronunciation? What should I do? So if I don't know how to pronounce the word nutrient, for example, or predisposition, what should I do? So what do you do in that case? Okay. Do you call your friendly neighborhood English teacher and ask them for the pronunciation? What do you do if you do not know how to pronounce a word? Answer? Ava says, I always check an Oxford Learner's Dictionary online. Yeah, absolutely, Ava. Very good. I was going to say it in a different way. Ask Mother Google for the pronunciation. It's kind of a new joke my friends and I have going. We're calling Google Mother Google because Google is slowly and surely becoming like a mother to us all, answering all of our problems and questions and taking care of us. So ask Mother Google for the answer. If you type a word into Google and you say definition, it will actually give you the pronunciation as well. So you can click on the little speaker icon and it will give you a pretty good pronunciation for that word. Even some very technical words, as I've discovered, Google is able to pronounce them. So that's the trick. Don't just forget about that word because it might appear a dozen times in your next IELTS exam. So just ask Google to give you the pronunciation. Okay? And of course, that's usually American English, but that's fine. Okay? Or you can do what Ava suggested. There are other pieces of software, free software available, like Oxford Learner's Dictionary online. Thank you, Ava, for that recommendation. Okay. So the next step, I'm going to make this into a 5-step process for us today, is and this is so these first kind of 2 steps especially, that's your fluency. Okay? So step number 1, reading faster than you can, that's improving your fluency. And then step number 2, reading these difficult words aloud and then pronouncing them and rereading, that's again fluency. You can combine step 3 and 4, what I just separated here, into one step. But if you're having difficulty, then just do it as 2 steps, and we're just going to do that today. So this is fluency plus comprehension. Okay, this is comprehension. So step number 4 is focusing mostly on comprehension. And most of you are familiar with this strategy because I've incorporated this into many reading practice lessons. Step number 4 will be familiar for you. It's basically where you read a paragraph, you identify what it is about, you identify why the paragraph discusses the information, and you identify how the paragraph explains the information. So looking at each paragraph from the concept of key idea, main idea, usually topic sentence for body paragraphs, then looking at the explanations, the reasons for those ideas, and then looking at those examples, okay? So same concept I was teaching in our task 2 writing, where you're the author, but here you're identifying the same structure and information from the IELTS author, okay? So Let's take a look at the passage again, or let's look at this paragraph in specific, and let's see what it's about, why it's discussing the information, and how. So let's read it one more time. Now, if you were able to do this in the previous step, maybe you don't need to read it again, but just for exercise purpose, let's read it again and go through the what, why, how. So the specific gene for red hair is called the melanocortin 1 receptor, MC1R. Now here I'm focusing on not just reading, I'm focusing on conceptualizing. So thinking what, why, and how. Okay? Was discovered in 1995 by Professor Jonathan Rees at the University of Edinburgh. This gene is responsible for red hair, along with the other tertiary attributes associated with red hair, pale skin, and myriad freckles, for example. But why did people ever have red hair in the first place? The answer, some scientists think, has to do with evolution and geography. The places where red hair is relatively common, Northern Europe and Western Europe, have lower sunshine levels than other parts of the world. This lack of sunshine resulted in a lack of vitamin D production in its inhabitants, exposure to the sun being humans' main source of the nutrients, which can result in rickets, a condition which can lead to the deformity of bones. One of the side effects of the MC1R gene is that redheads more easily absorb vitamin D due to low amounts of eumelanin in their bodies. On one hand, this results in a particular predisposition to sunburn. However, it also allows redheads to avoid rickets, even when underexposed to the sun. So now at home, when you do this step in your power reading, I highly recommend writing down the questions and the answers. Okay? So here we go. Let's take this example. So what is this paragraph about? What's the answer, members? What is this paragraph about? And you should be able to do this without looking back and searching the paragraph again. Again, remember, it's usually coming from the topic sentence in body paragraphs. So what is this paragraph about? In a simple way, in your own words. Okay, not copying from the paragraph, but in your own words. All right. So what is it about? Keep it simple. Yeah, Zainab, very good. The gene responsible for red hair. Yeah, Amarjeet, excellent. It's about the gene. So can't even remember what it was. MC1R gene? Was that it? Yeah. You got it? Yeah, MC1R gene. Okay. Good. Yeah, so it's about this gene, not gener, but gene responsible for red hair, MC1R. Very good. Okay. And why does the paragraph discuss this? Another way to ask this question a little bit more specifically is, why is this gene important? So why? Why does the paragraph discuss this gene? And why is this gene important? Okay, so what does it explain here? This is a very important question. So you're right, Amarjeet. You're absolutely right, Zainab. You're on the mark, Roshni. It's about that. So why? So yeah, it has to do with evolution and geography. Yeah? So, okay. For Dobbs, you're right to determine why certain people have red hair. Yeah? You'll notice that the Y answer is usually the biggest. There's the most information. Yeah, Chantal, very good. That's the other one I was looking for because it helps with vitamin D absorption. Yeah. There we go. It's more accurate. Yeah, so all of those are answers to that why question because this gene has to do with evolution, geography. It determines the reasons people have red hair, and it helps them with vitamin D absorption to avoid illness. Okay, one more question to go. So, how does the author prove this? What example does he or she, we don't know who this author is, give? So you're right. All of that information's correct. So how does the author prove it? How does the author support their argument? What facts or what details? Yeah, for Dobbs says, okay, there's deformity of bones. The disease is rickets. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and a little bit more. The author definitely gives a little bit more. Yeah, Roshni says there's something about lower levels of eumelanin absorbing vitamin D. Yep, so some more specific science there. Roshni, that's good too. I'm looking for one other very clear visual explanation or example by the author. And you should have picked this up. Yeah, so Chantal says lack of sunshine. Where, Chantal? The author tells us where there's a lack of sunshine and thus more redheads. Places like what? Yeah, there you go, Ferdov. So places in northern Europe, not southern America, right? But northern Europe especially. So here, we'll go back to the passage. So northern Europe and western Europe, where there's less sunshine, right? So those are examples supporting points. All right. So that is your full step number 3. I broke it into a step 4 here, but that's your full step 3. So this is your comprehension. Okay, this is your comprehension. Now, in our example here, it's 5 steps, so your 5th step. This is the 5th step to power reading, and it's very, very important. This is where you put it all together. Okay, so in the real IELTS exam, you cannot read aloud. You have to read quietly. Otherwise, they'll throw you out of the examination room. Obviously, there's other people taking the test there with you. You can't just start reading aloud. That will be a big problem. So you have to read silently. So for this step, for this last final step, in our case it's 5. I've broken into 5 steps. You need to read the paragraph again. Sorry. There we go. So in this step, and this is the last step, read the entire passage one more time quietly and quickly, okay? But not too fast, so not like in step number 1. Pay attention to intonation in your internal voice. So in the voice that's inside of your mind, pay careful attention to the flow of your reading. A big problem a lot of people have is when they read quietly in their head, they read like a robot. So they just go. So they're like a typewriter. Sting, sting, sting. That's not good. Okay? You need to read silently in your mind the same way that you read aloud to an audience of people. You need to have intonation. You need to have enunciation, flow to your reading. Okay, so even in your silent inner voice, pay attention to that. Pay attention to syntax. Stop at commas. Watch for punctuation like semicolons and periods. Okay? Focus on the structure and the meaning of the passage. So focus on the what, the why, the how. Okay? That's your final step. So right now, just try it. I'll give you 30, 40 seconds. So read this quietly. So not aloud. This is our last step. Just bear with me. We'll wrap it up. So read this nice and smooth. Pay attention to breaks. Pay attention to meaning. Combine fluency and comprehension. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so hopefully most of you got to the end of that paragraph now and you were able to read smoothly. Let me ask you this question, Ava, Roshni, Sheng Hung, Ferdow's, Chantal. Were you able to read this paragraph now smoothly and fluently without stopping at some words or without breaking your fluency? So were you able to read silently and smoothly through this paragraph? Roshni says, yeah, sure. Very good. Excellent. Perfect for Dobbs. And how did you feel about that? Okay, that's okay, Shanghung. It's fine that you didn't finish. How do you feel about that? So how do you feel about reading it fluently? Very good, Ava. Very, very good. And how do you feel about that? So how do you feel about being able to read fluently like that? So Ferdov says much more confident. Absolutely, Ferdovs. That's the key, right? Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. That's the feeling that you'll get. And students, this is just doing this exercise once. Imagine if you did this 3 times a week for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I promise you, and this is my promise to you, I very confidently make this promise to you, that if you do this exercise, and I'm going to use a real conditional because I want to believe that you will do this exercise. So when you do this exercise 3 times a week for 4 weeks, your IELTS reading band score will improve by 1 band. Guaranteed. Okay? I can make you that promise. All right? So try it. Do it. Practice it. Improve your band score. All right. That's it for this class. Again, thank you for watching. In 30 minutes, students, I'll be back with speaking part 3, practice and strategy. Viewers, members, remember aehelp.com for the academic IELTS. We have lots of strategies like this one for all parts of the exam for you to improve. So make sure to join us there for general IELTS. Join us at gieltshelp.com. And also check out our app, Academic IELTS Help. You're very welcome, Roshni. You're very welcome, Valiant Venture. Chantal, you're welcome. See you hopefully in 30 minutes. That's it for now. Much love to all of you. Bye for now.